Listen, man, you need to go ahead and get out your comfort zone. And I don't know who I'm speaking to when I'm making this video, but you know what I'm saying? Hopefully this finds the right audience because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are just like me. You know what I mean? When I say we're pretty smart, we're pretty, disciplined, we're pretty good on locking in on something when it comes down to actually focusing on a task and getting it done and achieving, right? And moving forward, right? But there's another big aspect of becoming successful that I feel like a lot of us don't really take into account. And I know I'm one of those people. I don't really, take this into account as much as I should. And that's kind of not okay. You know what I mean? And that is networking, bro. Now, networking is it's really beneficial for a multitude of reasons, but America was kind of built on networking. I know you guys have heard the term. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I kind of agree with that a lot because while you can be the hardest worker, you can be the most disciplined, you can be the most dedicated to whatever you're choosing to do, there is always somebody else who can climb up the ladder higher than you, or someone else who can climb up the ladder faster than you because of who they know, you know what I'm saying? Or because their family is in, you know what I'm saying, this certain position, or just because they know somebody, you know what I mean? Like, you guys got to be able to shake hands, rub elbows in certain rooms with people and make those connections, because if you aren't able to, you know what I mean, somebody who has those connections will easily get an opportunity that may or may not even be more deserved than you, just because they know somebody, you know what I mean? So I say that to say, man, I'm not really a person who's comfortable speaking with people that I don't know. I'm kind of more laid back. I'm kind of reserved. I'm the type of person where I don't really speak to you unless, I'm spoken to first, if that makes sense. And I don't know. I feel like that's to my detriment. That's not really a good thing because I feel like there's been so many situations where I could have put myself in a better position, but I'm not the type of person that is outgoing enough to put myself out there. And you have to be, I'm just kind of like a reserved person, like I said. And, I want to tell this story, man. I was out at Barnes and Noble. I was at the bookstore earlier today, right? And I was looking at books, with my girlfriend. I was minding my business, and as I'm looking at books, this guy walks up behind me and he's like, yo, you went to A&T, didn't you? That was my college. You know what I'm saying? North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was like, yeah, you went to A&T, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of caught off guard for a second. I don't know why I felt like just so uncomfortable with somebody approaching me, like that I didn't know. You know what I mean? But anyways, he approached me. He's like, yeah, you went to A&T, didn't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what class were you in? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I was in class of 2024. He's like, oh, okay, cool. It kind of gets awkward for a bit, kind of goes silent. He's like, well, I was class of 2023. And I'm like, bro, I'm sitting there thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, damn, like, bro, like, Isaac, you need to get better at like interacting with your peers, right? So then he's like, okay, well, what did you major in? I'm like, I majored in business administration. He's like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't ask no follow-up questions. That's a little tip for you guys, by the way. You need to be personable. You need to take an interest in the other person, right? I learned that in How to Win Friends and Influence People when I read the book, but it's just like, bro, it's so hard to utilize it when you're not used to doing that. But anyways, I wasn't asking any follow-up questions. He was like, yeah, what major did you major in? I'm like, yeah, I'm in business administration. He was like, okay. A little awkward silence again. After a while, he was like, okay, well, I was an engineering major. And I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, so did you, get into the field of business administration after you graduated or you left school? And I'm like, nah, I didn't end up getting into the field because, I kind of felt like my degree wasn't, what I was expecting it to be. And on top of that, I did 3 years. I didn't finish my last year. But I kind of wish I went for a different major. Business majors aren't really as beneficial as you would think they are. They're kind of like foundational business principles, rather than like, concrete how to start your own business, step-by-step knowledge. And he's like, yeah, I completely understand that, man. I definitely agree. Business majors, they kind of, we hear that often. Like the best thing to do when you're trying to get into business is to just start one yourself, right? School isn't really the route unless you're trying to be like, a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or something like that, like certain specific fields, right? But yeah, after that, it kind of came to like a quiet pause again. And he kind of just threw himself out there again, and he was like, yeah, like, so what are you doing now? I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of getting into real estate now. I'm kind of in the middle of my licensing process, and once I pass my next exam, I'll be fully into the office and I'll be, doing real estate full time. And he's like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Listen to this, pay attention to this part, you guys. He was like, my brother is actually in the real estate field out here. He's doing pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I have a couple of people that are into real estate, and I'm just sitting there awkwardly, just not knowing what to say, like a little hoe. Like, bro, I don't know what to say. Like, I should have followed up and said, okay, like, is there any way that we can get into contact? What's his name? What office does he work with? I could have went so many different ways with that conversation, but he's just throwing himself out there. He's like, yeah, and I own a business myself. I own a health and wellness business, and I have a meeting with my mentor in about an hour. Pay attention again. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's what's up, brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy to hear that. What am I doing? You got like, bro, why wouldn't I follow that up and say like, oh, okay, well, you're in the space. What are you and your mentor having a meeting about? If you don't mind me asking, I could have went any different way with that conversation. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, yeah, I can, give you some of the details to that. Or if you're busy, then, we can exchange each other's contact information, and I can, put you guys in touch together. I love helping out, my fellow Aggies and people that, went to A&T. So I'm like, okay, yeah, well, let's do that. Let's exchange information, blah, 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 right? But I say that to say, man, after that, we exchanged information, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna let you know after the meeting how it goes, and then I'll see if I can put you guys in contact, right? But you see how I limped on along that conversation? Like, you see how it was so, like, I was almost like a sped. Like, no disrespect. I don't know if that's a rude word or not, but I don't mean anything malicious by it, but like, I genuinely didn't know how to interact in that conversation and how to make that connection and push that connection forward and put myself out there, right? Because for anybody else that knows how to do that, that could be a business opportunity missed. You know what I mean? Like he said, he has a brother in real estate. I am getting into the real estate field as a new broker very soon. He said he has a business himself, and he has his mentor, and he's having a meeting with him out here in an hour. He's coming out to meet with him out here where I'm currently at. And I could have turned that into something, right? I could have, turned that into a full-blown connection. And it's like, I still ended up, exchanging contact information with him, but it wasn't of my own fruition. Like, I wasn't the reason that we ended up exchanging contact information. And I just feel like I left thinking about that for a while after the interaction ended. Like, I sat down at my coffee table. I was reading my books. He asked about my books, by the way, and he he also, like, you know, was trying to, you know, have a conversation about the books I was holding and everything too. Very smart brother, very intellectual brother. But yeah, I say that to say, man, I thought about that interaction for a while, like after we walked away from each other, and I'm like, dang, bro, like I'm trying to enter into the professional world, and you know, I can't even have a conversation. I can't make a connection with somebody without feeling like, you know, reserved or like awkward or like almost like a why are you talking to me type of thing. But it's like, it's not even that. It was just more so like I felt uncomfortable in the conversation. Like I wasn't trained in the professional sense on making connections with, you know, people that I haven't already known. And man, I say all that to say, man, to tie it all together, like you need to push yourself to be uncomfortable. You need to push yourself to be in these uncomfortable situations, because I guarantee you the next time a conversation like that comes about, I will know to ask follow-up questions. I will know to put myself out there. I will know to, you know what I'm saying, just network and really try to make that connection into something, you know? I guarantee you the third, fourth, fifth time that happens to me, the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th time that happens to me, that I will adjust and move accordingly. I will be able to grow and get better at forming these type of connections. You know what I mean? But it just felt so uncomfortable for me, you guys. I never had somebody go out of their way to take a genuine interest in me and you know what I'm saying, offer to help me, even though I'm not really, you know, pushing the conversation along or giving much or adding much to the conversation. Like, you know, shout out to that brother again, like I said. But on the other side of comfortability, you guys, is opportunity. So don't ruin your opportunity. Don't lose your chance because, you know what I'm saying, you're scared to be uncomfortable. Another thing, you know, I love reading. You guys know, if you watch this channel a lot, I love reading. But I typically am the type of person, I like to read at home. Like, you know, I order books, I read them at home in my room, mind my business, and that's that. But, you know, sometimes every now and then I push myself to go to the bookstore or go and, you know, look at books in person. And, you know, you'll meet some of the most intellectual people, some of the smartest people in the world in a bookstore. You'll meet some of them, you guys. Because bookworms are just genuinely intelligent people. So yeah, I push myself to get out of my comfort zone like that and, you know, be in an uncomfortable environment. Although it wasn't necessarily fully uncomfortable for me to be in that environment, it wasn't my typical stay at home read session. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you guys, I just want to say, like, again, opportunity is on the other side of your comfortability. You know what I mean? Push yourself to be uncomfortable. Push yourself to be in these positions. Push yourself to grow, man, because you never know when an opportunity can come knocking, and you need to be prepared for it when it happens, you guys. Don't be like me, man. Don't be like me. You know what I'm saying? Push yourself to be in these uncomfortable situations and you'll absolutely grow from it. So hopefully you guys can take something from that story tonight. And yeah, be uncomfortable, man. That's all I have to really say to close it out. I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, we being consistent, man. So I'm see y'all tomorrow.